spaceship in the sky to the simulation in the mind. Let's all embark on another journey of Conversations on the Fringe.
All right. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. My name is Josh. That's Vince Tagliavia. This is the Repill Project's Conversations on the Fringe. This is where we put politics, world government, the globalists aside for one night and talk about things that are outside the normal conversation, things that are on the mind, within the body, within the soul, the spirit, and beyond. And we didn't really have a guest for tonight. I've been working on scheduling some guests over the next few months. I got some emails out, conversations going. But it's like, Vince, let's just have an open conversation. That's kind of what we were supposed to do last week. We did that with Jay Melissa. And so let's have some fun tonight. Let's talk. And, I'm going to open this up to you guys out there as well. I mean, I see all the chats going on. We got most of the chats streaming here right for us. And so if you guys have questions, if you guys have something you want to talk about, anything we want to touch on, just no jabby jabs, none of that talk. Okay. We can't do that here because we are on the tube. But other than that, we are free game to talk about just about anything. Vince, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, man. Happy Friday. Happy St. Patty's Day.
Oh,
I was thinking of having a drink tonight, but I just have stuff to do. I'm like, maybe it's not a good idea. But yeah, I'm like, if I would have planned a little bit better. I didn't even know it was today. I thought it was on Sunday. I'm just, yeah.
Yep, today is St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah. Such an interesting day. But so happy St. Patty's Day, everybody. Hope it's going well. Green beer, whatever. Except I don't understand. The thing I don't like about St. Patty's Day is they dye that river green. That can't be good. That is so bad.
Be good.
Oh gosh.
You know what I dislike about St. Patty's Day is that they're not truthful with what St. Patty's Day is really about. That's my problem with St. Patty's Day. Like if I told you, Vince, what is St. Patty's Day about?
Oh, dude, it's some convoluted thing. I don't know. I have no idea.
Right. It's, kids are told in school. So my kids had this packet that they had to bring home for St. Patty's Day. And it was talking about St. Patrick going to Ireland and converting all the pagans to Christianity.
Oh, that's so nice. Saved them all.
Yeah, he saved them all. Sure did. Yeah. Now, how did they do that conversion? I think it was with swords and bats. I'm pretty sure that's what they
convert or die.
Convert or die, pagan.
Heathen.
But the one mythology behind it is that St. Patrick had rid Ireland of the snakes. Now there are no native snakes to Ireland, but what they're talking about is the serpent. The snake. They are talking about the order of the snake and the order of the serpent. These are some of the most ancient secret societies on this planet, originally formed through a rebellion against the creator gods that sought to use mankind and enslave them. So I will take that into context.
Okay.
The order of the snake and the serpent are the most ancient secret societies on this planet, formed by a rebellion against the creator, quote unquote, gods that were trying to enslave mankind. So this is like the founding fathers. That's who these people were. Now in Ireland, they were called Druids, right? And if you guys go check out Michael Tessarian's work, there's a lot of great work out there. He comes from that ancestry as well as I do, but I haven't researched it as in depth as him. Mm-hmm. Is that you find that there are Egyptian pharaohs buried in Ireland.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Huh.
And that's basically the understanding from kind of occultism or from ancient history is that the Atlanteans, there was various different branches off of the Atlanteans, but one branch is settled in Northern Europe, and they became the Druids. And they they continued society there. Now, this makes so here's the interesting. If you go through various points of occult history, which I have and I love doing, okay, and I've talked about this at length, and I talked about the book Morals and Dogma, okay. Now, Morals and Dogma, I think you can get a PDF online if you guys wanted to check it out. But Morals and Dogma, you can find, archive.org has it.
Good.
Find out an ancient sacred-text.org. But Morals and Dogma, written by Albert Pike. Now, Albert Pike was a Confederate general, as well as the Grand Master of the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry. Now, people are like, oh, Masons are so evil. Not really. That's kind of, no, not really. Has Masons hid themselves behind Christianity? Yeah, I agree with that. But they have a different understanding. There's two deviations of where you get within the Masons is you get a Hermetic and a Gnostic perspective. Kabbalistic is Hermetic as well, but you get a Gnostic and a Hermetic perspective of philosophy, spirituality, so forth, that is ingrained within Christian lore. So this would be more derived through what we call Rosicrucian kind of thought and understanding. But Albert Pike in Morals and Dogma, and I've talked about this at length before, he said some interesting quotes, and I got it down there in my notes somewhere, but I'm not going to pull it out. But he said that the real battle on the planet right now is between Adonai and Lucifer, where Lucifer, he claims, is the one true God. And he calls for the destruction of all atheists and all Christians.
Wow.
And if you go into the history of why he says all of this specifically, so he says that the Abrahamic religions worship Adonai. And Adonai is matter or the material world.
Okay.
And Lucifer is the world of light or spirit. And that's why he says light and spirit is the true God. Then he calls for the destruction of the atheists for denying the existence of it and also supporting the Christians, and we're talking about the church here, for many generations, millennia, a persecution against what he calls his people. And this would be the pagans. And he says, millions upon millions of people have been slaughtered in the name of this God. And he's not wrong with that perspective. But they also go on to say in various occult traditions that Christianity today is not necessarily what it was meant to be. And I'm not talking about, Christians out there. I'm talking about the church, the Catholic Church, primarily here.
Okay.
And he claims that this is the real Satan. This is the real evil.
It's been inverted.
It's been inverted. And that they've hijacked it. And this is why he says this. But, I find it absolutely fascinating just looking at that research, because when you start looking at that research, you got to ask is like, how did all of this come about? Well, let me read some stuff here. This is some stuff that I wrote through research that I've been doing. Okay.
Yeah, let's hear it.
There is very little information pertaining to the specific secret society, talking about the Order of the Serpent and Snake, and rightfully so. Its motivations have been shrouded in darkness since its inception in the post-Diluvian times. The Brotherhood of the Serpent and its adepts have been hunted down and eradicated from this planet, like I just said. Much of pagan history comes forth as a tale of struggles of the Brotherhood and the lies that have been told in history as who and what they are. To understand the mythological history, the esoteric domain, and the occult mysteries, we must conceptualize the context of what is being considered. At first glance, one would perceive the Brotherhood of the Serpent as an evil secret society that is hell-bent on destroying mankind. The word pagan brings massive negative connotation along with it. Unfortunately, if you fall in the realm of belief that things are so, then you are a victim of the millennia of this last millennia of psychological warfare. If you go back to Sumerian times, you have Enki, or also known as Ea. So Enki would be the Sumerian god. Ea, Ea, would be the Akkadian god, as described in ancient texts, was the Mesopotamian god of water and a member of the triad of deities in Sumerian lore. So this was a trinity of deities. The three deities, Anu, Enlil, and Enki, were worshipped in the city of Eridu. Enki, Ea, was known as the Lord of the Apsu, which meant the fresh waters beneath the earth. The name Enki translates to the Lord of the earth. In the Sumerian and ancient alien myths, Enki is the creator of mankind and genetically altered a primitive species by splicing its DNA with his own. In a mythological context, Enki was anthropomorphized as a half-goat, half-fish creature, from which we get the modern-day Capricorn, as well as the Akkadian god, or the ancient god Dagon. Dagon as well is the same mitre of the Pope. The Pope's hat is representative of Dagon. This depiction of Enki is modeled throughout much of history and mysticism as many different deities as a personification of evil. Although many of these deities have only few attributes to Enki, this was one done with a suppression of the truth and the actual meaning. In Christianity, we have holy water. Now, this is where it gets interesting, because holy water, if you go, John the Baptist, this is the Essenes. This is really where this derives from, which derived from earlier Hebrew traditions of ritual rites and purification, later becoming the standard for baptism by utilizing the flowering power in the purified state from nature that anointed, purified, and even ordained kings, prophets, and priests. This tradition predates the Abrahamic religions by millennia, and it was first attributed to Enki. In Akkadian lore, Enki was the god of ritual purification. The cleansing waters were called Ea's water. Now, the French word, the French word for water is eu, E-A-U. Interesting enough. Ea, or Enki, governed over the arts of sorcery and incantation. Now, this is interesting as well, because we've had these discussions on here about water specifically and the various different properties of water and how water is this kind of like transient medium to connect with the things that are outside of us, the spiritual realm. So it's interesting that Enki here is this water connection and also of magic and incantation, sorcery and incantation. In other words, he was the deliverer of magic to the early people. Magic being the process of consciousness optimizing its state within reality through a set of ritual process. Now, when you look at what magic really is, there's nothing really magical about it. It's just the formulation of laws of the universe and how they are organized and how you can utilize them to compound your reality. Enki was also the father of a god by the name of Marduk, the national god of Babylon, which will become incredibly important later on down the road. And the reason I say that is because Enki, water, right? He ruled over the Apsu. So what's interesting is Marduk, okay? Also Marduk, for people who don't know, you can also attribute Marduk to Tammuz. You can attribute to him to many other various different gods, mother being Nana. But Marduk was the one who destroyed Tiamat, raining her fresh waters or salty waters down onto the earth after destroying her husband, Apsu.
Which were celestial bodies, if I remember right.
Right, which were celestial bodies in a sense. So Enki was said to have loved humanity, his creation. He was said to have taken humanity under his wing and taught them the mysteries of the universe and gave them the tongue of the gods. In modern mythological context, we can see Enki being represented by various beings and deities. These would be Thoth, Hermes, Prometheus, Lucifer, and the list goes on. You can, Dagon, like we said. Enlil was Enki's brother and part of the formed trinity between the deities of Eridu, along with Anu, the father god. Enlil was said to have been disappointed in his brother for the human creation, and within the pantheon of the Anunnaki, the Anunnaki god, sought to destroy the creation his brother brought to life, as they were an abomination. And a lot of this you can find in the Book of Enoch, by the way. Okay, for people out there who are wondering where a lot of this information comes from. So it is theorized that Enlil, the god of wind and storms, was the one who caused the Great Flood, as many mythological lores discuss. After the destruction of humanity, Enki, his brother, rebelled against his father and brother and took the remaining members of humanity and began anew. And it was said that he was thrown out of the heavens to the earth.
Yeah.
He was cast out of the ranks of heaven and to the earth because he loved his creation so much.
And how do you interpret that? Do you interpret that as the heavens being some kind of space-bearing people, or as like maybe another dimension, or what would you guess? Obviously, we don't know, but
so it's an interesting question, right? Because when I see the word Eridu, I think veil. Okay, I think veil. And this could be a veil between dimensions. This could be the space between planets, right? This could mean a lot of different things. It's interesting, though, that, Enlil there was a god of wind and storms. That could be metaphorical, allegorical, that every time he came around, shit happened, right? It was a storm. And that water's peaceful and has grace. Every time the Enki came around, it was peaceful and graceful.
Well, yeah, there's also connections between storms and water. I've heard connections being made between, after a storm in the desert, for instance, there being paranormal or supernatural events. People have made a correlation between storms, water, and strange happenings. So just a connection there. I don't know.
Right. But also, what wind and storms could be? Electricity.
Wind and storms, electricity, weather manipulation, magic. I don't know. Yeah.
So this renewal infuriated Enlil. So after the destruction of humanity, Enki rebelled against his father and brother, was cast out of the heavens, was sent to the lower levels of the earth, okay, the ground of the earth. And I think what happens there is that they say that the lower levels of the earth, or Hades, ruled over the lower under the earth, right? I think that this is actually the surface of the earth. Think about it. Spacecraft in the sky, space, who knows what they had, right? This renewal infuriated Enlil, and he hunted down Enki and his tribes from many countless millennia after this. It is here that Enki creates the Brotherhood of the Serpent. The Brotherhood is the deepest mysteries of humanity and their lost past, their hidden powers, and most importantly, their true connection to the one creator, God.
They mentioned hidden powers there. What do you think that could be? You said they brought the snake. What is it? The snake people, or the snake? What is it?
The Brotherhood of the Serpent.
Yeah, the Brotherhood of the Serpent. You just named the attributes of them. One of them being, totally mind blank here. Sorry. What I was just asking. Fuck.
Well, so
what are the attributes?
Hold on. I was go say again. What do you mean attributes?
What were the attributes of the Serpent Brotherhood?
What were the? Well, let me finish. Let me go into this.
Go ahead. Sorry,
there's only a paragraph left.
Gotcha.
So, the renewal infuriated Enlil. He hunted down Enki and the tribes for many millennia, giving indication that they could live a very, very long time. This brotherhood is the deepest mysteries of humanity and their lost past, their hidden powers, and most importantly, the true connection to the one creator God. Now, the one creator God is, and this is the interesting thing, is not Enki. It's the creator source of the universe, of which Enki taught them. Now, if you're noticing the parallels to the Garden of Eden, you are correct. The word Eden, its true origins have been completely lost, and the Hebrew word Eden is pronounced Ejen. I can't pronounce it in Hebrew. Seems to have a more modern connotation to it. Knowing what we know etymologically from various occult origins, the word Eden can be described similar to El Den, which would represent the house of God or the dwelling of God. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, that parallel there.
Yep. And
Very
so Enki, well, go ahead, Vince.
No, I just said it's very interesting.
And Enki had been represented by the symbol of the serpent throughout all of these historical times, where Enlil had represented by the double-headed eagle. And if we look through history, the Vatican is the double-headed eagle. The Roman Empire is the double-headed eagle. The Spanish conquered the pagan tribes in South and North America with a double-headed eagle. St. Patrick went to Ireland and killed the Brotherhood of the Serpent with the double-headed eagle.
It makes me wonder, when you were describing the Brotherhood of the Serpents, if you would you mind going back and reading that sentence where it mentions it, the Brotherhood of the Serpent, just a couple paragraphs back?
The Brotherhood is the deepest mysteries of humanity and their lost past, their hidden powers, and most importantly, the true connection to the one creator God.
Hidden powers.
Mm-hmm.
So do you think they had access to things that we don't? They just knew how we worked. Maybe they knew science or something to where they could.
This has been my thought for a long time. If this theory is true, I'm not saying that this theory is true. I'm not saying that the Anunnaki creator God theory is true. The ancient alien theory is true. This is my thoughts on it. Okay.
Sure. Yeah.
Is that if you go into this lore, a lot of people who have looked at a lot of there's a database of Sumerian tablets online that you can find out that are from private collections that were stolen from the museums, and people have put them online, and you can now have access to them, and they're legitimate. And there's people out there that go and decipher these things and come back and they understand these and they put it all together. One of the interpretations was that Enki, after he destroyed humanity with the flood, Enlil, after he destroyed humanity with the flood, they stole humanity and restarted them, but genetically modified their DNA. So he basically, the perspective was that humanity was too advanced too fast, right? That they couldn't handle the powers of being a being that had evolved over millions and millions of years instantaneously through by genetic manipulation. So they had to dumb them down back to a certain level of degree. So they went in and genetically manipulated them, genetically altered them to live less, not live as long, as well as disconnected them from genetic memory, genetic lineage, these types of things, and turned off a lot of these things. And this is in the second codon in your DNA of where it looks like it's spliced together, because it quite literally is. And this is where Enki comes in and then disobeys the brother and the father and starts teaching them once again how to do this, how to obtain it through evolution, but through knowledge and information, understanding the universe. And this can be attributed to the serpent in the garden. Pretty interesting, huh?
Yeah. I'm kind of stuck on what kind of special powers they may have had. Telekinesis, communications by thinking.
The ability to transfer through different dimensional levels.
Who knows, man? Or maybe just super intelligence.
Super intelligence could be.
Knows?
Well, I bet super intelligence is there, but I think that every being in the universe develops a high level of connectivity to their environment, to the universe, right? And so, actually, there's a text out there called the Enuma Elish, right? This is the text of the Great Flood. Oh. And this is the story of Tiamat, but for Marduk destroying Tiamat, hath made in addition weapons invisible. She hath spawned monster serpents, sharp of tooth and merciful of fang, with poison instead of blood. She hath filled their bodies. Fierce monster vipers she hath clothed with terror. With splendor she hath decked them. She hath made them lofty stature. Whoever beholdeth them is overcome by terror. Their bodies rear up, and none could withstand their attack. She hath set up vipers and dragons and monsters of Lahumu, and hurricanes and raging hounds and scorpion men. So this is describing the weapons that Tiamat utilized on Earth after her husband was destroyed or dead. Right. Now, I find it interesting with a connection that we can't really go in today on this discussion with vipers and snake and venom.
Yeah.
And that with poison instead of blood, she hath filled their bodies.
Whoa. Okay, gotcha. Wow, man.
That one part of the Enuma Elish has always got me. Because what that sounds like, because she said, it says, hath made in addition weapons invincible. She made her weapons invisible. She had spawned monster serpents. She had genetically altered something from the serpents, sharp of tooth and merciless of fang. Bing! Sharp of tooth. The tooth goes in like a poison, and instead of blood, she fills their bodies.
Wow.
Fierce monster vipers she hath clothed with terror.
Was this written 2 years ago?
The Enuma Elish? No, this was written about 6,000 years ago.
Deja vu.
It's the 7 tablets of creation from the Epic of Creation from the Sumerian text. It's believed to be about 6,000 years old, but we believe it's much older because it does talk about the deluge, the great flood. I can read it. When in the height, heaven was not named, and the earth beneath did not yet bear a name. And the primeval Absu, who beget them, and chaos, Tiamat, the mother of them both. Their waters were mingled together, and no field was formed, no marsh was to be seen, when of the gods none had been called into being, and none bore a name, and no destinies were ordained. Then were created the gods of the mist of the heaven. Lamu and Lahamu were called into being. Ages increased. Then Ansar. Oh, I gotta show that to I gotta show
Bruce.
that to Bruce. Then Ansar and Kesar were created, and over them long were the days. Then there came forth Anu, their son, Ansar and Anu, and the god Anu, Nidamund, who his father, his begetters, abounding in all wisdom. He was exceedingly strong. He had no rival. Thus were established and were the great gods. But Tiamat and Apsu were still in confusion. They were troubled and in disorder. Abru was not diminished in might, and Tiamat roared. She smote, and their deeds, their way was evil. Then Apsu, the begetter of the great gods, cried into Mamu, his minister, and said unto him, O Mamu, thou minister that rejoicest my spirit, come unto Tiamat, let us go. So they went, and before Tiamat they lay down. They consulted on a plan with regard to the gods, their sons. Apsu opened his mouth and spake, and unto Tiamat, the glistening one, he addressed the word, their way. By day I cannot rest. By night I cannot lay down in peace, but I will destroy their way. I will. Let there be lamentation. Let us lie down again in peace. When Tiamat heard these words, she raged and cried aloud. She grievously, she uttered a curse, and unto Apsu she spake, what then shall we do? Let their way be made difficult, and let us lie down again in peace. Mamu answered and gave counsel unto Apsu, and hostile to the gods was the counsel Mamu gave. Come, their way is strong, but thou shalt destroy it. Then by day shalt thou have rest. By night thou lie down in peace. Apsu hearkened unto him, and his countenance grew bright. Since he, Mamu, planned evil against the gods his son, he was afraid. His knees became weak. They gave way beneath him, Because of the evil which their firstborn had planned, there they altered, they lamentation, they sat in sorrow. Then Ea, who knoweth all that is, went up and held their muttering. He spoke. He hath conquered, and he hath weepeth, sitteth in tribulation of fear. We shall not lie down in peace. Apsu is laid waste, and Mamu, who were taken captive in thou didst. Let us lie down in peace. They will smite. Let us lie down in peace. Thou shalt take vengeance for them. Unto the tempest that shalt thou. And Tiamat hearkened unto the word of the bright God and said, Shalt thou entrust? Let us wage war, the gods of the mist, for the gods she did create. They branded themselves together, and at the sight of Tiamat, they advanced. They were furious. They devised mischief without resting night and day. They prepared for battle, fuming and raging. They joined their forces and made war. Amuma Hubar, Tiamat, who formed all things, made in addition weapons invisible. She spawned monster serpents, sharp as a tooth and merciful in fang, with poison instead of blood. She filled their bodies. Fierce monster vipers she clothed in terror. With splendor she decked them. She made them lofty stature. Whoever beheld them, terror overcame them. Their bodies reared up, and none could withstand their attacks. She set up vipers and dragons and the monsters of Lahamu, and hurricanes and raging hounds and scorpion men. And mighty tempests and fishmen and rams. They bore cruel weapons without fear of the fight. Her commands were mighty. None could resist them. After the fashion, huge of stature, she made 11 kinds of monsters. Among the gods who were her sons, inasmuch as he had given her support, she exalted Kingu. In the midst, she raised him to power. To march before the force, he led the host. To give the battle signal, to advance the attack, to direct the battle, to control the fight. Almost done here. Unto him she entrusted in costly raiment. She made him sit, saying, I have uttered thy spell, and in the assembly of the gods I have raised thee to power. The dominion over all gods I have entrusted unto him. Be thou exalted, thou my chosen spouse. May they magnify thy name all over them, the Anunnaki. She gave them the tablets of destiny on his breast and laid them, saying, Thy command shall not be without avail, and the word of thy mouth shall be established. Now Kingu, thus exalted, having received the power of Anu, decreed the fate among the gods his son, saying, Let the opening of your mouth quench the fire god. Whoso is exalted in the battle, let him display his might. So that's tablet 1. So
wow. It's interesting that 11 kinds of monsters were created, and the vipers, dragons, I think dogs might have been one of them, or some kind of wolf or something. And it makes me think of kind of mythological creatures. Monsters, obviously, is what they call them, and fairies. It reminds me of the fairy phenomenon, meaning not just like, little people with wings or whatever, but I mean in the sense of creatures like Wolfman or whatever, and all these different creatures that people report seeing. I wonder if there's some kind of connection there to these myths and then these paranormal things that people see.
Possibly. I think that's a good possibility.
Isn't that trippy?
I think that's a good possibility. But you want to know my thought on the first tablet and what they're talking about here?
I'd love to, and I'd also love the link, and the listeners would as well.
Yep. So I'm going to put the link here in the. You can have that for our chat.
Yeah, please. I'd love to hear your take on it.
The animals created are the constellations in the sky.
Oh. Well, shoot. There you go. That's a good one, man. Yeah.
The Tiamat and Apsu in chaos.
Yeah.
There's planetary changes going on in the solar system. These are planetary bodies.
It's a creation story, yeah.
It's the creation of our solar system.
This is wild, dude. Okay.
Yeah, if you go in there, it says this is before Lamu and Lahamu, right? Before they came into existence. What would that be? I don't necessarily know how people are translating that, but how I would translate that is the two suns.
Two suns.
Oh yeah, two suns. We have two suns.
I've heard of that.
Yep. Well, let me read well, let me read some tablet 2. Because people seem to like this. When in the height, heaven was not... Okay, that's the first tablet, sorry. Tiamat made weighty her handiwork. Evil she wrought against the gods, her children. To avenge Apsu, Tiamat planned evil. But how she had collected her forces, the god unto Ea divulged. Ea hearkened to this thing, and he was grievously afflicted, and he sat in sorrow. The days went by, and his anger was appeased. And to the place of Anzar, his father, he took his way. He went, and standing before Anzar, the father, he begat him. All that Tiamat had platted, he repeated unto him, saying, Tiamat, our mother, hath conceived a hatred for us. With all her force she rageth, full of wrath. All the gods have turned on her. With those whom ye created, they go at her side. They are banded together, and at the side of Tiamat they advance. They are furious. They devise mischief. Without resting night and day, they prepare for battle, fuming and raging. They have joined their forces and are making war. Umahubar, who formed all things, hath made in addition weapons invisible. She hath spawned monster serpents, sharpest tooth, merciless fang, with poison instead of blood. She hath filled their bodies, fierce monster vipers. She had clothed with terror, with splendor. She hath decked them. She hath made men of lofty stature. Whoever beholdeth them is overcome by terror. Their bodies rear up, and none can withstand the attack. She had set up vipers and dragons and monsters of Lahumu, hurricanes and raging hounds and scorpion men and mighty tempests and fishmen and rams. They bear cruel weapons without fear of the fight. Her commands are mighty. None can resist them. After this fashion, huge of stature, hath she made 11 monsters among the gods who are her sons, inasmuch as he hath given her support. She had exalted Kingu in their midst. She had raised him to power, to march before the forces, to lead the host, to give the battle signal, to advance the attack, to direct the battle, to control the fight. Unto him hath she entrusted in costly raiment. She hath made him sit, saying, I have uttered thy spell in the assembly of the gods. I have raised thee to power. The dominion over all gods I have entrusted unto thee. Be thou exalted, thou my chosen spouse. May they magnify thy name over all of them. She hath given them the tablets of destiny laying upon the breast. And it repeats this whole part over again. But Tiamat hath exalted Kingu. Where is the one who opposed her? Deliberation of the god Nadidamud. And so Anzar unto his son addressed the word, my mighty hero, whose strength is great and whose onslaught cannot be withstood, go and stand before Tiamat, that her spirit may be appeased, and that her heart may be merciful. But if she will not hearken unto thy word, our word shalt thou speak unto her, that she may be pacified. He heard the word of his father Anzar, and he directed his path to her. Towards her he took the way, and drew nigh. He beheld the muttering of Tiamat, but he could not withstand her, and he turned back. Anzar he spake unto him. And then there's some stuff that happens here. But anyways, so this leads to the destruction of Tiamat. Now, I find this interesting because if you go to the Bible, right, and you start thinking about the differences between the Elohim, Jehovah, and Yahweh, right?
Okay.
That Tiamat could easily be placed in Yahweh or in Jehovah's place. Merciless God, right? Destroys mankind, all this. Enlo as well. And this is one tradition that I've seen throughout a lot of mythology, is that you have masculine and feminine deities that are kind of compounding one story. They're representative of certain bits of information, and if you travel with them throughout history, you can begin to put them together, and they go by various different names on all different sides, and you can start to put it all together.
Yeah.
But they ended up killing Tiamat, and she spilled her salty waters onto the earth. And obviously the people that she hated were the people of Earth. And so this as well brings about the creation story, as well as the first original flood, because Her salty waters were sprayed upon the earth, which created a great flood. And she was destroyed by Marduk, the son of Ea or Enki. Enki tried to stop her. Obviously, he's back in heaven at this time because humanity is already created. Or are they talking about a different civilization? They talking about one that's far, far older.
Right. The thing that makes me wonder is the way this is written, and it puts many gods on the table, but at the same time it mentions the ultimate creator, God themselves. Something Uma Fubar or whatever.
Ananuma Huma. Yeah, the one that the creator of all things.
Yeah, and so it really makes me think, if it's the same story or has a lot of similarities between the Bible, it really makes me. It's interesting that the Bible has one God per se in it.
Yeah, so I think if you ask the Anunnaki who the gods are, they would say, not us. I think that they were perceived as gods by those that were less advanced. Right? Is you got to wonder who's telling the story. Is this mankind telling the story millennia after this happened?
Yeah, probably.
Millions of years after this happened?
Probably.
Of which they portray them as gods because they want to signify the importance of the story and the people?
Yeah, dude. That makes the most sense in my eyes.
I've actually been thinking about this a lot lately in the sense of God, right? And God is not a physical being. God doesn't, God isn't this person who sits on a throne and rules over my domain. Okay? If we want to think like that, then we're mistaken by mythology. Because that's Zeus. That's Mount Olympus, right? And it doesn't make much sense because then how does a physical being like that come into existence? Well, it's always been in existence. Well, that doesn't logically comprehend with anybody's mind. You can't comprehend that. But if you look at it as a field, if you look at it as a predominant field that exists in the universe.
Think of what as a field? A
source, God. If God is just the source, something that we can't explain, something beyond our comprehension, our understanding, right? Not a being, but all being. Not a thing, but all thing. Not a silence, but all silence. And it's all of those things at the same time.
Yeah,
that's what God is to me.
So it's not only just God per se as one single thing behind everything else, but also there's multiple parts of God itself, kind of behind the scenes in every aspect of nature.
Well, not only multiple parts, that all parts need to be comprised to make up the whole. Right? Is that there is no one single thing that you can call specifically God. God is of all things. All things is of God. Right? Now I was seeing if I actually had a video on this. I don't.
So, yeah, I think that this just brings this thought to me. I think humans are capable of way much more than we are.
Let's transition to that. I like that. What do you think we're capable of, Vince?
Dude, I think we're capable of moving shit with our minds. I think we could maybe even phase in and out of reality. Maybe we could change our vibration. I don't know. Maybe we could communicate just by thinking thoughts, which people claim to have experienced. Who knows, man? I have no idea. This maybe not as well. I'll say that, but my mind goes crazy with these thoughts of what is possible.
Mine does too. And what I like to do is I like to look through history and I like to connect things. Okay. And just Jim, you're absolutely right that man can only describe God in anthropomorphic terms. 100%. Oh, everybody's looking for that link. There you go. There's the link. Sorry, guys, I'm pilled. And Rumble, we'll send it out now. There's the link for Rumble. Sorry, guys. But how about this? Star Wars.
Oh. Yeah.
What happened is that you had something inside your blood known as midi-chlorians, right?
I mean,
midi-chlorians.
Okay.
If you had a certain concentration of them in your blood, in your body, then you had a higher connectiveness to the force, the prevailing force that was created by life. Now, I always looked at midi-chlorians as a different word. You ready for it?
Yeah.
Mitochondria.
I knew it.
I always look at that word and I see mitochondria.
Life.
Yeah. Without mitochondria, there would be no life. And mitochondria, by the way, are some of the very first forms of life on this planet, of multicellular oxygen breathing life. They came out of the great what is it called? The great oxygenation event about 3.1 billion years ago. Where was it going? Okay, special powers. But I absolutely 100% believe in special powers. The reason is because I've experienced them with my own self. And we were like, well, that's witchcraft or that's, demonic, right? Well, how about, Rumble went down. Hold on.
Yeah, it wasn't working for me this morning. How odd is that?
They were doing some updates today.
Sons of guns. They're just making the system better for us. Dude, I'm kind of with you on that. I also believe in some kind of, let's just say, superpowers or supernatural powers or just aspects of being human or an animal that we are completely unaware of. Mm-hmm. I think most of us are completely unaware of them, most people per se. And that I wonder if it's a genetic thing that we're disconnected from, like you mentioned earlier, or if it's just an awareness thing. Who knows what the ingredients are into making these things happen, but we know like children experience things more often than adults do, as far as saying off the wall stuff like, oh, I'm talking to the man in the corner with the hurt knee. And then like, who told me that story? I think one of our listeners.
Yeah.
And it's like ghosts and this kind of thing, UFOs.
Abduction. Well, take the midi-chlorians, right?
Mm-hmm. Midi-chlorians, mitochondria.
Yep. Take them and now attribute that to Wilhelm Reich.
In what way? Walk me through it.
Well, do you remember who Wilhelm Reich was?
I don't remember.
Wilhelm Reich was the lab assistant and partner of Sigmund Freud. Psychologist in Germany, came over to the United States of America, settled in New York State, and began study on the libido or on human sexuality. And he discovered something known as orgone. Right? And so he discovers this life force that exists within everybody and everything called orgone. And orgone is named obviously after orgasm, right? And he did amazing things with orgone energy, and his books were some of the first books in the United States that were banned by judges and burned.
What is this orgasm energy? Orgone? I didn't know it was originated from that.
Well, orgone, think about it as chi. Okay. Think about it as your inner energy, the kundalini, if you want to call it that, right?
Gotcha.
But by enhancing this energy, you can do some profound and amazing things. And there we go. I got Rumble back up for people. And I think that what they were trying to do with Star Wars is to show you that this stuff really does exist and that it exists within all of us. And I think that there's ways of building it up within ourselves, but primarily the best ways to build it up within ourselves is to do it at a very, very young age.
I think you're right. But also, if you think about it in a mitochondrial, from a mitochondrial point of view, our everyday actions affect our mitochondria. What you eat could kill them. You could be very weak when it comes to that and be extremely sick. Or
you want to know one of the strongest. You want to know one of the strongest things that have an effect on a mitochondria?
Diet,
electromagnetic fields.
Really? Oh yeah! Wow! Yeah, dude, you're right. I was just somebody on the app posted a video of this woman who got cancer on her cuticle of her fingernail, and she was using UV light at the nail salon to harden her nails way too often.
In the cuticle, the fingernail,
and they had to amputate the back of her finger. But studies were done on that UV light put on the hands, and it kills your cells. Allegedly,
it kills the cancer cells. Yeah.
No, it kills cells. Drying the nail
does.
Drying the nail polish under these bright lights.
Oh, drying the nail polish under the bright lights kills the cells. Oh, I don't doubt that. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
I'm looking for a specific video.
It was really a high kill rate of cells too. It was like after a half hour, it kills like 15-20%. And after you do this so many times, it kills a majority of them. I was like, oh my gosh, yeah, cancer. It creates
let all those dudes put freaking nail polish on. I don't care. I don't care.
That's why I just use clear.
Let them there go ahead and put that nail polish on. I'm actually looking for a video of the psychic kings. I'm gonna find it here. And this is actually pretty profound what this one guy's doing. And I gotta find the specific video where he brings it about. But let me ask you this, Vince: have you ever tried to work on it and hone in on those things?
I have, yeah.
Well, how did it go? I'm curious to know.
I think my will is strong and I can make shit happen, but I wouldn't attribute it to anything supernatural or anything. I think that maybe, I guess there is kind of like a little bit of where attention goes, energy flows type thing. And I haven't really practiced it. I guess just naturally it's practiced is kind of like an intuition thing where usually I have a good feel for what's going on. Trusting it all the time in this kind of thing, that's an ongoing process. But when I was younger, like a kid and a young teenager, even maybe, I would always try to like move shit with my mind just out of nowhere and like do different things because you never know, right? Imagine, it's kind of silly, but I don't think it's that silly actually. People do that. I haven't done that in so long. I'm going to try it right now. Nah, nothing.
What I was actually doing is I've been listening to Lynn McTaggart. Lynn McTaggart, she's been researching what she calls the field for well over almost 3 decades. And she aligns with a lot of global intention projects. And she's really good at what they do. But they have shown conclusively in scientific laboratory settings, she works for the University of Arizona, that intention affects reality. Absolutely, 100% intention affects reality.
Yeah, which is why things like 5-year plans and whatnot are so important. People don't realize it. And just even on a smaller scale, the way you talk to yourself personally, the power of thoughts are incredible. I don't even have to speak. I could be thinking to myself and affecting my body physiologically. So in that aspect, I know that's true. And yes, there are scientific studies that show thoughts affect surroundings. I think maybe it's about time we open up our own experiments again, Josh. Maybe this summer.
Let's do it. I think that's a great idea.
Full of energy.
For those who don't know what he's talking about, is on the socialredpill.com. We have done in the past intention experiments. And so that'd be a great idea. And for those wondering, if you want to join Social Red Pill, I don't have the link up here. Shit.
I'll get it.
Oh, no. I had a thing I was going to do with it. Hadn't made that one link yet. But if you want to join the Social Red Pill, go to socialredpill.com. We're actually going to be there tomorrow night or tonight after this show for Fringe After Dark. And Social Red Pill private network.
It's a good time.
Let me do this real quick. Let me go to this.
Are we doing a Sunday thing this week?
Are we doing a Sunday thing this week? What do you want to do on the Sunday?
I thought, don't you normally have your
we are doing a Red Pill Preppers this weekend. Yep, that's right. We are doing Red Pill Preppers this weekend. We're doing Red Pill Preppers. We're doing Crypto Mastermind. So yes, those will all be going on this Sunday.
Cool. I'm going to try to tune in. I tuned into the first one last weekend because Sundays I'm usually pretty damn busy, but I was glad I did. That was a really good one, man. I appreciate you throwing those together with the community. It's pretty sweet.
My pleasure. I'm learning a lot doing it. So
me too. It kind of starts there, and I think it extends throughout the week. I think people keep digging and sharing. It's pretty cool. I have a lot of things to go back and visit. It's insane.
There we go. Right there, guys. If you're looking at the screen right now, you can go ahead and there's a QR code. If you just put your phone on that QR code, you can go there. If not, socialredpill.com. Really easy. This is why I like Restream. You got all these cool little things.
Yeah,
like go boop like that, boop like that. Right? I can go up here like that. We can throw like, hey, look, you guys want to donate? Right over Vince's head.
Well, the cool thing is wait until you could get a Neuralink implant, and all you have to do is think about the QR code, and it pops up on the front of your stream.
That's right. That's so many. We got all these set up.
I really appreciate you having me on, Josh. I got to split early tonight.
I know you do. And we're actually gonna be splitting early tonight. We're not gonna be staying out the whole night. What we're gonna be doing, guys, is in 30 minutes from now, we're going to Social Red Pill. Okay, and so Vince has to end the show early tonight. He's got to go eat dinner and do a few chores and stuff like that. He's got a lot of work to do.
Way later, I'll have dinner, but yeah.
But what we're going to be doing is we're going to go to make this private. If you look right there on the screen, Social Red Pill Private Network, www.socialredpill.com. When you join up, if you go to the events tab, and Vince, you can go ahead and drop.
All right, take care, buddy. Thank you.
Yep. If you go to the events tab, you will see where we're going to be at. Okay. And I'm going to hold that up there for a little while. But this is what I want to do. I want to talk about more of these topics. I want to talk more about special skills, psychic abilities, magic, these types of things, intention, all this stuff tonight with you guys. I'm going to give you guys a little bit more time. I've been looking for a video, and I can't find the video that I'm looking for. But that's okay. But I'm going to try to see if I can find a cool video to play for you that's going to bring up some conversation. And I actually just had one a minute ago and then I scrolled away from it. But I will find it again here in just 1 second. I will find it again here in just 1 second. And it's actually The Powerful Mind. There's a video called The Powerful Mind. You guys like comedy? I like comedy. I like Robin Williams. Robin Williams reminds me of my father. Give me a second. Almost there. I just had it. It was just freaking right here. Where'd you go, dude? But what do you guys want to talk about? What do you guys? So Fringe After Dark is tonight. We'll probably start that in about 30 minutes after this show ends. You got to be a member of the Social Red Pill to get in there. It's completely free to join the Social Red Pill, guys. Completely free to join. Socialredpill.com. You can just do that right there. Let me see if I can get this one going. There we go. I found it. I want you to check out this video. This guy's awesome. I'm trying to get him on the show. And so hopefully we can get him on the show here soon. I'm going to pull this down. I'm going to go ahead and share screen. I'm going to pull this up like that. All right. There's me down in the bottom. Oh, I didn't share the volume. All right. Listen to this.
2018. And I got 2 invitations. One discovered a prime number pattern in 2018. And I got 2 invitations. One was to go to the Vatican to give a presentation to a bunch of like cardinals and stuff on prime number pattern, which turned out to be the shape of a photon. And literally on a mod 24, it looks like the exact shape of a photon of light. And it also looks like a cross. Looks just like a cross, a Templar cross, in fact. So the Catholic Church asked me to come out and present there. So I flew out to the Vatican. I presented there. And then I got another invitation from the Dalai Lama to come and teach the Dalai Lama this prime number pattern, right? So I'm thinking now, wait a minute, I've stepped into a different world, right? Mm-hmm. This is not the world I was in, teaching him in his house, prime number pattern. And he looks at me and he says, I think one day you will be able to prove higher consciousness mathematically. And I was like, whoa, what an epic moment. And there has been, he has tons of people, scientists and everything, come and visit him. And I brought 7 people with me, other physicists, mathematicians, and a stem cell scientist. And he asked the question, he said, do you believe that glass of water is conscious? And we said, yeah, we do, because it has feedback, it has memory. We know this from DNA, And he was like, okay. And he was so humble, and he was such like an open-minded person on everything, because the guy has studied physics. He wrote a book on physics called The Universe in a Single Atom as a fractal. It's another as above, so below kind of concept. And I remember sitting there with him, and he actually even told me, and this might kind of be surprising to you, may not. He said, in my house in Tibet, I have the records of when Asa visited Tibet 2,000 years ago.
Who's Asa?
Jesus.
Yeshua.
So the name they wrote it as in their language was Asa, who was from Palestine. And he actually told me of the records that they have where Jesus came. And not only did he come to Tibet, and he spent something like 12 years there. So this is that time period between the time he was 12 years old until he was 30 when his ministry began, right? There are records all over India where he visited Jainism, learned Zoroastrianism, learned Tibetan Buddhism, right? And was very much trained in all of those things as a monk. According to His Holiness the Dalai Lama, they have the records of that entire story. I was fascinated by that.
So although there is so much to unpack here, we're going to start off.
Yeah, we don't need to check out her out. But isn't that crazy? A crazy story. And that gentleman, I'm trying to get him on the show. He's got so much more information. He's a polymath, but absolutely fantastical in the sense of the information and knowledge that this man knows. And that story is absolutely true, that the Dalai Lama has a 2,000-year-old book that talks about Isa, who traveled the Silk Road and learned the secrets of the Buddha and went back to Jerusalem and taught it to the Jews. But you know what? We can all believe or disbelieve what we want to believe, right? That is our right. That is our right in this world, in this universe. What's this one? That's the sand dunes. I'm looking for some other videos that we can just pull up. I like a lot of math stuff. So on my TikTok, you'll see a lot of math stuff. And sorry, I can't do all of the chats right now. And I'm looking for specific videos that deal with what we're talking about here. So just give me a second, guys. I'm just trying to pull some up. I actually had a few, but I already closed that window because I pulled up this other window. Ooh, let's check this one out. I think this one. It's a short one, but we'll check this one out.
This is the most incredible video I've ever seen of a living embryo as a fertility specialist. It was just presented today at an international fertility meeting. You see the cells twitching and then dividing, but that flash of light, that is the chromosomes lighting up and then dividing, an incredible miracle of life.
And they actually exchange electric filaments when they do that, which I find absolutely fascinating. And it goes to the perspective of those people who say that life begins at the first heartbeat and stuff like this is absolute bullshit, because there are amazing things actually happening right there in the beginning when the cells are just splitting. And someone said play the Jordan Maxwell one. So let me see if I can find the Jordan Maxwell one. Probably got to go to my messages. Give me a second. Let me see. There it is. Let's play this one. You guys will like this one.
Most important books on the earth, because I believe that the Bible is one of the most important books on the earth, because it's really telling you some really interesting things. But if you don't understand how to read the symbols, it's never going to dawn on you how this stuff works. I think the New Testament is probably the most important story in the whole world, but not as history, but as a metaphor, as an encoded message. In the beginning of the Bible, in Genesis 1:1 says, in the King James Bible, in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth. But that's not what it says in the old ancient Hebrew or Phoenician language. That's not what it says in the original language. That's how it was translated from the English and the King's English. However, they know more about the language today than what they did then, and so there's a lot of imperfections in the King James Bible that could be misleading unless you understand what the words actually meant in the ancient world. And so when you read in the beginning, this is Genesis 1:1, in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth. That's not what it says in Hebrew. It says in the beginning of the creation, Elohim created the heavens and the earth. Elohim is not the word God. El is a Phoenician, Canaanite name or word for deity, El. Elohim is like adding an S onto an English word. You have C-A-R for car, or C-A-R-S, cars, more than one. Well, that's exactly what Elohim means. El is God, Lohim is plural. So the correct understanding should be read, in the beginning, the gods created the heavens and the earth, not God. This is why, incidentally, in Genesis 1:28 says, God said, come, let us make man in our image, according to our likeness. Who's us and our? Was God talking to himself? Later on in Genesis, I think it's 3, the scripture says, God said, here man has become as one of us, knowing good and evil. The point is, who is God talking about? Us. Here's man made in our image, after looking like us. Here, now he's like us. Who's us? Who's our? Well, it's Elohim, the gods. So consequently, what we're talking about here is that the gods created us, created the heavens and the earth and all things on it. But interesting, in Genesis 1:2 says, and the earth was without form and void. That's another mistranslation. In the original, it does not say that the earth was without form and void. Actually, it says, and the earth became a waste and a desolation. Consequently, if you go to Genesis 9, which is Genesis 9:1, where God is talking to Noah after the flood of Noah's day, and God says to Noah, now, understanding that according to the story, everyone has been wiped off the earth in the great flood, and so God says to Noah and his sons, his 3 sons, go forth into the world now and multiply and replenish the earth. And you ask the question, wait a minute, the word is R-E, replenish the earth, meaning, not plenish, replenish, meaning do it again. Why? Well, simply because before Noah, there was a whole civilization. God brings a flood, according to the story. God brings a flood, destroys the world and all life on it. And now God is saying to Noah and his sons and their wives, go now on the earth and reproduce and fill the earth and replenish the earth. Well, that is a correct translation from the Hebrew, and I've talked to rabbis about that. And the word is replenish. R-E means do it again. Okay, it makes sense that God would be telling Noah to redo it again. However, if you go back to Genesis 1:28, where God is creating, the first chapter of the Bible, where God is creating man, and man and woman, Adam and Eve, he says to Adam and Eve, multiply and replenish the earth. Do it again, replenish the earth. Implying, of course, do it again. What are you talking about doing again? Well, if you just read Genesis 1:2 correctly, it said, and the earth was without form and void. No, the earth became a waste and a desolation. So the rabbis will tell you, and the rabbinical reference works will tell you, that what is being said in Genesis 1:2 and in 1:28, when man and woman are being created, is that God is recreating all over again. And so consequently, the Bible, the Old Testament, is a story for this dispensation, this time the world is being recreated. Now, what happened a million years ago, 10,000 or 100,000 years ago, that's none of your business. For you right now, this is what you need to understand. And the bottom line is that we are not the first creatures on the earth, the first time man's been on the earth. We now know that man has been on the earth probably millions and millions of years, and that for us to think that mankind was created 6,000, 7,000, 10,000 years ago is ludicrous, because we know better than that. And that's what the Bible is saying. God is saying, replenish the earth to Adam and Eve. Do it again. Who is God? Well, the scripture says, and this is a very difficult word to deal with, God, G-O-D, because that's a lot of baggage. What are you talking about when you're talking about God? Well, God is dog spelled backwards, as I said. This is why churches have dogma in their teachings, because it goes back to Anubis, the dog star, Anubis the dog, the god of, and the ancient Egyptian religion. That in Genesis 1:2, the earth became a waste and a desolation. The two Hebrew words that are being translated there is tohu and vohu. Tohu, vohu, waste, desolation. There's only two places in the Bible where tohu, vohu is used, and those two places, they're always used together. And there's only two places to start with. One is in Jeremiah, and one is in Genesis 1:2. And in the scripture in Jeremiah says, I saw the earth in a vision, and the earth was tohu vohu, meaning the earth became, and my eyes, I saw the earth, and it became a waste and a desolation. Well, when did that happen? Well, according to the Jeremiah prophecy, it happened many, many, many thousands of years before. And the prophet Isaiah said God gave him a vision, and in the vision he saw the earth and tohu vohu, which is the earth became in his eyes. It was beautiful. It was, and the scripture says that, Jeremiah says, and the earth was beautiful. Its animals, its birds, its civilizations were absolutely beautiful to see. And then tohu vohu, it became a waste and a desolation, some kind of a major catastrophe, tohu vohu. When you go back to Genesis 1:2, tohu vohu is always understood to be a situation that the earth goes through when it changes from what the ancients called one dispensation to another dispensation, or one period of time in God's history, not our history, but in the history of the universal God force, the way it keeps time. And of course, it's theoretically using the term God. How does God keep time? Well, my Lord, God's forever, forever. So, I mean, how long would that be? So in the universal God force concept of time, millions of years are nothing. So consequently, what is being said there is that tohu vohu implies a total destruction on a cosmic level between dispensations of creation between God. Some terrible catastrophe happened on the earth in which the gods were angry, and the whole thing was just leveled. And Jeremiah was allowed to see tohu vohu, a total destruction all over the earth, a major catastrophe. The normal way people think that the scripture is saying, when it says God said, come let us make man in our image after our likeness, most people think that that's God is saying, come let us create a creature, let us make a new creation, a creature, and we will call him maybe we'll call him man and woman, man with a womb, man. That's what most people understand that scripture to mean. That's not what it says at all. Yes, the correct way to understand that is the gods were saying, come, let us make man in our image, after our likeness. Not make man. Man's already here. Come, let us remake man. Do it again. Let us make man according to our image and our likeness. And so the ancient Jews and the Hebrews and all the ancient civilizations, starting all the way back to Sumeria, understood what was being said. It's just that we don't understand, because all we get is our news from ABC. We wouldn't know anything about what's going on. But if you go back to the ancient works, you will find that the ancient people, the Sumerians, Babylonians, Phoenician Canaanites, Egyptians, the ancient Greeks and Romans, all of them understood that we are the creation of another entity. We are the creation of the gods. And according to Zecharia Sitchin, and he's not the only one, he's just one that I know personally, but according to the work of Zecharia Sitchin, the Sumerians are saying that extraterrestrials came here from a planet called Nibiru. And consequently, according to the Sumerians, and now we're beginning to scientifically find out that he was right. The Sumerians are right. The U.S. Navy has even commented on now that there seems to be, I believe that the Bible is one of the most important.
Now, wasn't that fascinating? Jordan was a friend of mine back in 2011 to 2015. We used to have some great conversations. God rest his soul, he is now passed. But it might not agree with you, right? You might hear that and say, hey, look, that's not what I believe. And that's fine. That's 100% okay. That if you disagree with what Jordan said. I disagree with a lot of things Jordan says. But here's the thing, is it's a different account of the story. And we have to take that into context, because what if there is some truth within the story? And that's the relevance there, is that what if there is some truth in actually what is being said? And I do believe with Jordan right there that there is some truth of what is being said with what he's talking about right there. Massively, I honestly believe. Okay, guys, what we're going to do is we're going to break right here, and we're going to go to socialredpill.com. So for anybody out there, if you want to join us over there, socialredpill.com, right there, you can just scan that QR code, or you can go to that web address right there, www.socialredpill.com. And you can join up for free. And by joining up for free, you can just go to the events tab. And I'll post the link in there, but go to the events tab and you're going to see Social Red Pill Zoom. Okay? Social Red Pill Zoom. Go to that, and there's going to be a Zoom that's already started right now. Just Jim's probably already in there. Okay? There's a Zoom that's already playing right now. You can jump in there, and I will be in there in less than 30 minutes from now. So I will see most of you guys there. Everybody else, I hope you guys have a great night. Thank you so much for joining us tonight in Conversation on the Fringe. And I know that this wasn't the best Fringe in the world, but I think it was cool. And I think we're going to take that episode tonight. What we're going to do is we're going to extrapolate on a lot of those things that we talked about tonight. And so we're going to have a big old discussion. Usually get about 20, 30, 40 people in there. So we're going to have a big old time. I'm going to get me some whiskey, and we're going to have a great night. So I'll leave this up there right there for the outro, and I'll see most of you guys later. Have a good night.
Either we will get the full cooperation of other governments to stop this menace, or we will expose every bribe, every kickback, every payoff, and every bit of corruption that is allowing the cartels to preserve their brutal reign. And it is indeed brutal.
And they call me Eye Patch McCain. I haven't, look.
Frankly, if you look at the media, where the media is a closed media, we don't have an open, free media anymore. They don't want to hear anything. They don't write about it. It's collusive. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. It all happened during this period of time. It happened just before the election. They wouldn't talk about certain subjects that you know better than anybody, Michael. And, that's the beginning of communism.